nightmarish creature that haunts the woods of Beltsville, Maryland, a grotesque hybrid of man and beast. Its very existence, whispered in fearful tones by those who dare to speak of it. This terrifying entity is said to have the body of a human, but its twisted, deformed head resembles that of a goat. Sharp, glaring eyes, a jagged, snarling mouth, and two massive horns curling from its skull. Its form is a grotesque mockery of nature, stalking the dark, wooded edges of the town, its presence marked by the eerie rustling of leaves and the crushing of branches underfoot. The goatman's legend is drenched in blood and terror. It is rumored to be responsible for countless mysterious deaths of livestock, particularly dogs, whose mangled corpses are found with evidence of violent, unnatural attacks. Some say it hunts by luring unsuspecting prey into the woods with eerie sounds or the scent of death, and when the moon is high, it strikes with terrifying ferocity. Locals tell of strange, unsettling encounters, footsteps echoing in the dark, eyes glowing from the underbrush, and the bone-chilling feeling of being stalked by something far more dangerous than any animal. Many claim that the goat man will follow you home, lurking just beyond the safety of the trees, waiting for its next victim. No one knows what it wants, but those who've encountered it never forget the darkness in its eyes. The goat man is real, and it is waiting. The ghost of Kiev is a haunting legend born from the heart of war, a spectral figure that has terrified and fascinated those who have heard the tale. During the harrowing days of the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, as Kiev was besieged and the sky filled with smoke and terror, a mysterious fighter pilot appeared. This ghostly figure, said to be a Ukrainian ace, flew a sleek, deadly aircraft across the battle-scarred skies of Kiev, striking down Russian planes with unnatural precision. Some say the ghost of Kiev was a living hero. Others claim he was a spirit, summoned by the very anguish his presence in the air was both a beacon of hope and a harbinger of doom. Witnesses, often terrified civilians watching from the ground, described seeing a lone plane cut through the chaos, its movements swift and unearthly. The ghost seemed to defy the laws of physics, appearing in places where no plane could be, and vanishing before a single bullet could hit him. Those who spoke of the ghost said his eyes were always just out of sight, hidden beneath the shadows of his helmet, a reflection of the dark grief that hung over Kiev. The legend whispers that the ghost still roams the skies, protecting his people, a figure born of both war and vengeance, never to be caught. In the eerie darkness of Cape Henlopen State Park, a ghostly light flickers on the horizon, drawing the lost and the curious into its haunting glow. Known as the corpse light, this phantom flame lures those who wander too far from the path with a false promise of safety. It's a light that seems to dance just out of reach, flickering like a distant beacon, as though someone or something is waiting for you to follow. But don't be fooled by its warm, inviting glow. Those who have dared to approach the corpse light speak of a terror that creeps up behind you, growing colder and darker with every step you take toward it. The closer you get, the dimmer the light becomes, until it vanishes entirely, leaving you lost in a suffocating, unnatural darkness. And that's when the true horror strikes. Some say the light is the soul of a sailor speaks of young thrill seekers who, driven by a strange, dark hunger, stalk the unwitting cows as they sleep soundly in the fields. The cows, standing on their hooves, are completely unaware of the danger creeping toward them. Silently, the tipper approaches, each step measured, each breath held. Then, with a single violent shove, the massive creature topples. The thud of the cow crashing to the earth echoes through the still night, a shocking sound that shatters the quiet like a gunshot. The cow, stunned and disoriented, struggles to rise, its heavy body too disoriented to defend itself. But it's not just the thrill of the topple that lingers. There's something deeply unsettling about the practice. Some say it awakens something ancient, a curse bound to the land. There are whispers in the shadows that those who partake in cow tipping may be marked, followed by a presence that never leaves them, a watchful, unseen force that waits. Others say that the cows, though silent, are not as innocent as they appear. They have their own dark secrets, secrets they whisper to the night, seeking vengeance on those who dared disturb their rest. And once the game is played, there's no turning back. In the shadowy corners of Staten Island, a name whispers through the night. Cropsey, once a harmless tale to keep children in line, it has grown into a nightmare that stains the very land. Parents warn their kids, stay close twisted figure who matched the horrors of the folklore, convicted of kidnapping and terrorizing children. Rand was the real-life Cropsey. The monstrous figure in the legend was no longer just a story. It was flesh and blood, roaming the streets of Staten Island, snatching children one by one. Cropsey may still walk among us, his twisted presence forever haunting the streets where innocence once lived. And for those who stray too far into the night, the darkness may still claim them, silent and hungry. There are bridges across the United States, weathered and forgotten, where the air grows thick with an unsettling presence, a presence that can only be described by one name: Crybaby Bridge. On these forsaken structures, beneath the weight of darkness, a chilling sound pierces the night, the unmistakable wail of a baby. Some say it's the echo of a mother's grief. Others speak of a tragedy too terrible to comprehend. Legend has it that the cry comes from the depths of the bridge, rising from the black waters below. The baby's scream is sharp, desperate, full of the raw, painful longing of a child lost in time. Those brave enough to stop and listen speak of the hair-raising feeling that something unseen is watching, waiting. Some say if you listen too long, you'll hear more than just crying. You'll hear the soft, wet footsteps of something crawling up from the dark, its hands reaching for you, pulling you into the water, just as it did to the child long ago. And no one knows why the sound lingers. Some claim it's the spirit of a baby drowned by a cruel fate. Others say it's a curse, a warning to anyone who dares cross the bridge after dark. But one thing is certain: if you hear the cry, you are never truly alone, and the bridge, like the child, will never let you go. In the 1950s, a haunting image began to spread across homes in Europe and beyond. A painting that seemed innocent at first, but carried with it an unspeakable curse. It was called The Crying Boy, a portrait of a tear-streaked child with eyes that appeared is destroying everything but the painting itself. Houses burned to the ground, leaving the cursed child's face untouched, staring from the ashes, his tears glistening like drops of blood. The stories were too widespread to dismiss as coincidence. One family reported their house burning down despite the flames being miraculously contained in every room except the one with the crying boy on the wall. The painting remained untouched, its eyes still weeping, its expression as empty as death itself. Over time, the legend of the cursed painting grew, and so did the fear. People claimed that if you owned the crying boy, you were doomed to suffer tragedy. It was said that the boy in the painting was no ordinary child, but the spirit of a soul lost to the flames, forever bound to seek revenge on those who dared possess his image. In the years that followed, the crying boy was quietly removed from homes, burned or hidden away, but the legend remains. Some say that if you find one of the paintings today, you should never look into the child's eyes, for if you do, the curse will follow you, bringing death and destruction, an unrelenting reminder that the boy's tears are never shed in vain. In the dark corners of Latin America, where the night seems to swallow the very soul of the land, there lurks a creature born from the deepest shadows. El Cucuy. It is a monster of nightmares, a thing so vile and malevolent that even the bravest tremble at its name. A twisted ghost. It is said to feed on the fear of children, prowling the darkness like a predator waiting for its prey. El Cucuy comes in many forms, sometimes a shadowy figure with glowing eyes, sometimes a creature cloaked in tattered rags, its face hidden in those who disobey, who wander too far into the night, often vanish without a trace, their bodies never found. The air grows cold where El Cucuy treads, the silence broken only by the sound of distant, haunting footsteps. Beware, for if you hear the wind howl at night, and if the shadows seem to move with a life of their own, El Cucuy might be closer than you think, waiting, watching, and hungry. In the haunting expanse of the Santa Lucia Range, there are whispers of shadowy figures, tall, silent, and unnervingly still, known as Los Vigilantes Oscuros to the early Spanish settlers. These beings are the Dark Watchers, a mysterious and terrifying presence that lurks in the high mountain peaks. No one knows who or what they are, but their chilling gaze has been reported by countless travelers who wander too close to the range. The Dark Watchers are seen at dusk. Their tall, shadowy forms standing motionless against the fading light. They are figures of silence, black silhouettes, almost human in shape, but too large, too otherworldly to be real. From the cliffs and hills they watch, never moving, never speaking, just observing. Some say their eyes burn with an unnatural light, their stare piercing the very soul of anyone who dares to venture into their territory. Those who have dared to approach report an overwhelming feeling of dread, as though the air itself thickens with a malevolent force. The Watchers never make a sound, but their presence is undeniable, heavy, suffocating. And when travelers turn to leave, they are often followed, as though something dark is trailing them through the shadows, just beyond their reach. The Dark Watchers are a warning, a curse, or perhaps something even older, waiting for the next soul, foolish enough to wander too close. One thing is certain, they are always watching, and they will never look away. There's a number that no one should ever call. 999. those who dare to seek the unimaginable. The legend goes like this. If you dial the number after midnight, you'll hear a voice on the other end, soft and chilling, offering you anything you desire. A wish, a secret, a moment of power. But nothing comes without a cost. For every wish granted, a price is paid in blood. The moment you utter your request, you seal your fate. The voice will ask for nothing except your life. And when the sun rises, you will be gone, swallowed by an unseen force. The urban legend has spread like wildfire, horrifying those who hear it. Some say it's just a story. Others swear they've felt the cold grip of death after making the call. And in 2002, the legend was brought to the screen in the horrifying film 99999. It's a tale that lingers, a dark invitation you should never, ever answer. On the dark, mist-shrouded waters of the Platte River, there drifts a ship that should not exist, a ghostly vessel known as the Death Ship. First sighted in the mid-1800s, this eerie apparition has haunted the stretch between Alcova and Torrington, Wyoming, ever since. The ship, unnaturally gray and spectral, glides silently across the river's surface, its sails billowing in the windless air, as though propelled by something far more sinister than the breeze. But it's the crew that truly chills the soul. The sailors aboard the Death Ship are no men at all. They are phantoms, pale, hollow-eyed figures who stand motionless on deck, their faces twisted in eternal suffering. They move with an unnatural jerking motion, as though bound by some cruel force that will never allow them peace. No one has ever heard them speak, nor seen them react to the world around them. They simply drift, forever trapped on their cursed vessel. Locals speak of the ship's appearance as a death omen. Those who have witnessed it often report a sense of overwhelming dread, as if the ship is drawing them closer to the grave. Some claim that if you stare too long it will come for you, its crew reaching out, cold hands grasping for your soul. Many who have ventured near the river never return, their fates lost to the death ship's eternal voyage. Once you see it, you may never leave the river alive. The tragic death of James Dean in 1955 left behind more than just a mournful legacy. It unleashed a malevolent curse tied to his iconic Porsche 550 Spider, nicknamed Metal Bastard. The car, which Dean was driving when he met his untimely death, became the focus of a chilling urban legend. The story goes that anyone who took a piece of the wreckage from Little Bastard was doomed to suffer a horrific fate, usually in a car accident of their own. Mechanics, fans, and even curious onlookers who dared to claim parts of the car, an engine, a tire, a seat, found themselves drawn into a web of death and destruction. One by one, those who tampered with the wreck met violent ends, often in accidents eerily similar to Dean's. The curse didn't stop there. The wreckage itself seemed to carry an unrelenting evil. The car, after being sold and resold, was involved in a series of deadly accidents, claiming the lives of those who came too close. In 1959, the car mysteriously vanished from a garage in Los Angeles, further adding to its legend. Some believe it disappeared entirely, as though it had been swallowed by the earth, or worse, taken by a force that would never let it rest. The Little Bastard seemed to be a malevolent entity, a dark force that claimed anyone unfortunate enough to come into contact with it. The story of the cursed Porsche lives on, a reminder that some tragedies do not simply fade with time. They become warnings, lingering in the shadows, waiting to claim the next victim. If you ever encounter Little Bastard, don't touch it. The curse is waiting. across the United States, there exists a chilling relic of the past. A funerary monument known as the Devil's Chair, this eerie, haunting sculpture, often a stone chair or bench, was carved as a memorial in the 19th century, but its true purpose has always been shrouded in dark mystery. Legend has it that if you sit in the devil's chair, you will be visited by a malevolent force. Some say it's the spirit of the person memorialized. Others believe it is something far darker, an embodiment of pure evil, lurking in the shadows. Those foolish enough to sit in the chair claim to feel an overwhelming sense of dread, as though the very air around them thickens, suffocating them with terror. Others have reported seeing dark figures lurking nearby, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light, or hearing whispers from the chair, voices that seem to speak of curses, of death. But the most terrifying claim is that if you sit in the chair long enough, you may never leave. Some say those who sit